It's a solution, man.
Hello and welcome to a brand new episode of Driving and Talking, and boy do we have a lot to talk about this time, and it's not all bad news. Now I did intend to record this episode a day before, but plans changed, so it's a bit late, but it's right. So first off, the biggest thing, in terms of scale, you had the earthquake, which measured a 7.5 according to some and 7.7 according to some other research organizations and geological study groups, geological societies. Right, so the earthquake epicenter was on the Hindu Kush region, which is in Afghanistan, and a 7.5, is pretty big. Considering if you look at our own local history of worst earthquake incidents, the one that took out one happened in Gujarat was a 7 I think, basically. So this was a 0.7 more, right? So it's scary, and the scariest part was everybody felt it for about 400 kilometers, or I think definitely more, because it happened in the Hindu Kush region of Afghanistan, which is towards the northern part of the country. It's felt across there, Kabul, almost all of North India. Now I'm in Noida, which is basically when you look at on the large scale, they call it close to Delhi. So Noida and Delhi NCR all areas, we all felt the two tremors. The first one was violent. The second one was less shaky but lasted longer. Everybody's at office, at work, or at home, or outside. Suddenly the ground beneath you shakes and you lose your shit. So yeah. Funny enough, I was at home watching some stuff on YouTube. When the first one hit, I just said, no, that's over with. And then the second one hit, and I thought, well, it would be a dumb way to die if I was in the building and I knew there was an earthquake going on, and it fell. Simply because I was too lazy to get up. I advise all of you to know the basics of what to do during an earthquake. I don't know, which is why you should know. First of all, get out of the building, go use the stairs, do not use the lift, right? And next, just wait till somebody tells you it's okay, or just if building starts falling, run like hell. Oh, and on the way out, make sure you grab a phone. But do not take selfies and Snapchats and Insta pics. Okay, not until the situation has passed. Because if you do that, you're a fucking twat. You are a twat. For a quick illustration on what to do during an earthquake, I'll put a link to a friend's video on this matter. I think I'll just upload a link to that video and upload it on my channel. She's a really great illustrator, and she drew this quick schematic for basic advice of what to do in the event of an earthquake. Other big news again from yesterday. Now I haven't bothered to look into it into great detail. But for people who saw this Salman Khan blockbuster recently, Bajrangi Bhaijaan or something, everybody apparently liked this. Is about this guy about a girl who wanders across the Indo-Pak border. She's a Pakistani girl, and then she crosses over the border. She's a kid, and then this Salman Khan's character takes it upon himself to make sure that she gets home. Indian citizen had accidentally crossed over onto what is the Pakistani border, and she'd been living there for about 15 years under the support and aid of the Edhi Foundation, which is kind of like an NGO run in Pakistan. And they got in touch with the Indian Foreign Affairs Office, I think, and there was an ongoing negotiation for her return. I think her name is Geeta. I don't know what's her name, whatever. And she's deaf and she's mute, so communication is not easy for her. So yeah, that was a big good news thing that happened, and they were like, hey, this person who was lost some 15 years ago across the border, who was looked after by these nice people, has finally come home. Apparently they say that Geeta is also very happy and delighted about it, and she's hanging out with all the ministers doing the political, not political, collecting the political points. But yay, good for her. Now, in a related report which I read in TOI, Pakistan is fun that ways. Okay, their politics is just fun. So they agreed to send her back, and they have sent her back. She's home, she's safe, she's enjoying her stay in India, while they're trying to figure out using DNA tests who really are, of all the people who claim to be her parents, who are really her parents. There's some confusion there also. Right, so Pakistan's response was, we're glad this is a good step forward towards peace and unity among Pakistan and India, and we hope that in India also they will look after Pakistani prisoners with equal love and respect, and we pray and we hope that India will soon release the 459 Pakistani prisoners currently in India, so that they can live their lives out with dignity or whatever. So you in the return you expect 459 Pakistani prisoners in India to be released in good faith. 459 for one. No, I don't think so. Good news of sort. There was apparently, well, not apparently, quite clearly, for people who are older than 25, they would remember the biggest terror threat faced in India, which was in Bombay again. That was the the 26th November thingy. Bombay serial blast in Bombay. Accused and the guy who claimed to have done it, Monsieur Dawood Ibrahim, was still on the run from Indian authorities. Well, his aide, who betrayed him soon after the incidents, who they call the patriotic Don, who is still a bad guy, extortion, murder, the basic gangster cool things that help you build an empire and be a Don of your own. Mr. Chota Rajan was arrested, or rather as they call picked up, at the Indonesian airport the other day, which is quite recently, and he's been on the run from Indian authorities and from Interpol for about 20 years or more. And it's a big catch. They're gonna get some information out of him regarding where to find Dawood, or where to find other accomplices of Dawood Ibrahim and related mob bosses, dons, so to speak. And so there's good thing. So big time gangster finally got caught. In the photo though, it's funny. The guard who seems to have caught him is smiling, as is Chota Rajan. So apparently, according to the articles, he was hiding out in Australia under a fake identity and whatnot. But they finally caught him after 20 years or so. And among the big news things that there were a lot of high-level approvals required before they went ahead with it, considering India doesn't exactly have an extradition treaty with that country. But they're gonna say that that's not a problem, we'll figure this out, and we've caught him, yay. So good news there. In some more incidents since the last episode, there have been more cases of people getting killed, children also getting killed, women being raped and such, or for variety of reasons ranging between somebody being of a lower caste, or somebody being just there, unfortunately. And with the kids, it's usually because of cycles. Yeah, so that's there. But that was, there was, like I said, there was a lot of good news also, and there was a fewer number of articles about bad news in the papers since the last episode. Today's headlines news, it does include a case where they say that Delhi police apparently raided the Kerala cafe or something on just reports that they're serving beef. Delhi police defense says that we didn't raid them because they're serving beef. We were tipped off that they might bet one of the Shiv Sena guys would try something for that, and we were there to prevent anything happening or anything going wrong or being attacked by goons or such. And the report was called in as a scuffle in the cafe. That's where the police came in. Oh, I'm just gonna check on some interesting people I just saw. Well, as I was recording this, on my drive, I spotted these three guys with this interesting looking equipment standing by the side of the road, which is in Noida. So it's not often that you would assume it's for research purposes, but it was. So I met these three nice people. I already forgot which university they said they're from. So there was two guys, Eddie and Jason, who were student engineers from China, and this one Indian guy with them called Himanshu, and they were doing research on trying out a speed camera, automated speed camera, to be put in place for traffic policing purposes. Now, I have often bitched about speed limits and the lot. So yeah, I mean, it was nice meeting them. It was nice interacting with them. They're nice people. I tried not to distract them much, but so I did point out to them that if this thing works and it's important, quite often I'm the one who's going a bit fast, so it's not so good for me, but it's good for the people out there. And they were very interesting people, very helpful guys. Shout out to Eddie, Jason, and Himanshu for that impromptu talk on what they were doing and an insight of what's next in terms of road safety for the people of India that we can look forward to. Right, this has been a action-packed sports few sporty days, weekend, yeah. Well, the final match of the five match ODI series between India and South Africa and India, it was a 2-2. Basically, each team having won 2 matches of the previous 4. Fifth game, final game, and South Africa hammered them. It was beautiful. 3 great South African players got tons, centuries, and South Africa set up a total for India to chase of 430. And still 29 less than what Pakistan asking for 1%. 430 to chase, and at the beginning, India looked like they could do it. Rahane was going out well; he was firing on all cylinders, and then he got out, and then India just crumbled, and we were all out for, well, I think we lost by 200 runs or something, so we're definitely all out for less than 230. Now that is how you win a series in the final game. Way to go, South Africa. Racing, what a weekend. The US Grand Prix, I watched the entire race replay. I didn't get to watch it live, I was sleeping at that hour. Very eventful. The rain made it for quite difficult for Mercedes to use those powerful engines to take off an early lead despite having pole position for 1 and 2 in qualifying. So a lot of overtaking both in the front and at the back. Quite a few retirements due to technical faults or sliding off the track into the wall, but they tried to continue this, but car just couldn't take it. No major incidents, thankfully. One big spin out at the beginning, which did take out a couple of cars. So in the end of the race, were about 12 cars that finished, but there weren't any big incidents, unlike some of the previous races. Hamilton came first, and he's now the 3rd time F1 World Champion. And I think he's on par with Bruno Senna, if I'm saying his name right, and Niki Lauda. So way to go, Mercedes. Rosberg finished 2nd despite starting on pole, I think. Rosberg was in the lead a couple of times. He did have the strategy, he had the car, there was no problem with the car. It was in the last quarter of the race that Rosberg made one mistake when Hamilton was chasing him, and Rosberg was just starting to build his lead. Rosberg went wide. He locked up a bit. I don't think he locked up. His rear wheel, something went wrong. He lost a bit of control. He went wide, and Hamilton took over. And once Hamilton's in front, it's very hard to stop that man. And from there, he just cruised to the finish line. And now, with 3 races left, Hamilton has already won the is this season's F1 champion. So congratulations to Hamilton, and let's see for an interesting race next weekend. I think in Mexico circuit. Rosberg finished 2nd, and Vettel got a 3rd, which is a pretty good performance from Vettel as well, considering how far back he started with the 6 position penalty for the new engine Ferrari had. Moto GP controversy. It's not a controversy, it's pretty much there. My favorite all-time MotoGP rider, Valentino Rossi, is the main contender for the championship this season. He's in the lead, but it's a very thin lead right now. Jorge Lorenzo is right on his tail with one last race to go, I think. They make, I think I forgot which track it was. I'm so sorry, I don't know the circuit's name. But the race this weekend, Pedrosa started from pole position, finished first. A brilliant race from Pedrosa. Jorge Lorenzo quite had a uphill task making his way up the ranks, but he did just fine and finished second. Rossi finished third after a controversial incident, which I think pretty much has cost him the championship. Apparently, when Marquez was fighting Rossi for position, there were a couple of times throughout the season where Marquez and Rossi have had animosity on track. This is where it got out of hand. Again, Marquez was being a bit rowdy, even as I would say, because I have seen Rossi race even sometimes a bit aggressively, but he's always a good sportsman as far as the races I've seen. Just look at last weekend, him and Iannone. What a race! They were aggressive, they were good racing, and it was fun. Now, Marquez is bit of a dick himself, okay, and I'm not just saying as a Rossi fan, I'm saying as a MotoGP fan. That's just not cool racing, okay, man. So yes, you did piss off Rossi, but Rossi, I am your fan, but you can't kick another rider, you know. And initially Rossi denied that he claimed that his foot slipped as Marquez was overtaking him on the outside, and Rossi was trying to push him off track, off the racing line. But obviously, with all the camera angles right now, we got good footage, and it clearly looks like a kick. Now, some people have mixed reactions within the MotoGP racer community. Some people have decided to not comment on the incident. Rossi claims that it's Marquez the race was deliberately trying to help his fellow Spaniard Jorge Lorenzo win the championship by deliberately costing Rossi the race, or interrupting Rossi's attempt to catch up with Jorge. And I have not read any main response from Marquez. Is that Marquez is disappointed Rossi would do something solo as kick him, and quite clearly in the footage, Rossi appears to have kicked out at Marquez on the turn, which led to Marquez crashing and not finishing the race. Marquez, I think, did say that it is only because of Rossi's name that he's gotten off so lightly without a major penalty. Penalty being that Rossi will start at the back of the grid at the final GP, and with the lead of less than 10 points over Lorenzo, odds are stacked up against Rossi, which have really stacked up against Rossi now. That's all for today's episode, folks. Stay tuned for more. I hope you liked it, so drop a quick comment and subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time.